What if the things you've instinctively run from, those moments of deepest pain, maybe regret or failure,
Mm,
what if they aren't just burdens?
right.
What if they actually hold some kind of unexpected power? Like, what if they're actually keys?
That's such a compelling idea, isn't it? Almost counterintuitive. It's really at the heart of what we're diving into today.
Yeah,
This whole notion that adversity isn't just something you survive, but something you can actively use, transform even.
exactly. So today we're taking a deep dive into Mainza Kangombe's book, Ghost in the Pain.
And crucially, its musical counterpart, this 13-track hip-hop album, Exit Music, Ghost in the Pain. They really work together.
They do. And for this exploration, our source material is, well, excerpts from the book itself, which lays out this whole philosophy,
From Pain and Transformation, yeah.
the lyrics from the album, which are incredibly raw and insightful, and also details about the author's own background.
Mm.
Pretty varied stuff from his resume and the text.
Absolutely. A fascinating mix.
And our mission here, for you, the listener, is really to unpack this unique perspective. We're going to explore how Kangombe translates personal adversity into, well, strategic strength.
How the music makes that whole emotional and intellectual journey feel really vivid, really alive.
Yeah, and connect his own path. I mean, from growing up in Zambia, navigating places like the UN, then forging ahead in pioneering tech like AI and quantum.
And creating this music, it's quite a range.
It really is. Connecting all that to these universal lessons on turning pain into actual power. We'll pull out some key concepts from the book and see how they resonate in the music.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The central philosophy, because
Yeah.
it really does kind of reorient how you might think about suffering.
Definitely.
The book doesn't just say, get over your pain.
Yeah.
It presents it as raw material, even an engine for dynamic growth.
And the absolute core idea, the phrase that really sticks with you from the sources, is this one. Your ghosts are not chains, they are keys.
That's such a potent reframing, isn't it?
It really is.
And the book explains these ghosts they're mentioned throughout, especially early on and near the end. They aren't like literal ghosts.
Right, not spooky figures.
No, they're the echoes. Those persistent echoes of past hard times, lost loves, the hurt of maybe an absent parent, crushing rejection, the sting of leaving people or places behind.
Things we all carry in some way.
Exactly. And the argument isn't to just ignore them or bury them deeper.
No, it's the opposite. Face them head on.
Right. And that confrontation, that act of facing them, it becomes like a forge.
Yeah.
It builds resilience, strength.
It's about taking the lessons, the hard-won lessons from those things.
Yeah.
And the book uses this word, weaponizing them.
Weaponizing. Strong word.
Yeah. Transmuting that agony into focused action, into strategy. He literally talks about learning to turn absence into ambition, heartbreak into strategy.
Wow. And you can see how this philosophy feels like it's really rooted in his own lived experience, right?
Absolutely.
Looking at his background, the resume, things mentioned in Chapter 1. Moments like leaving Butler University or feeling like an outsider at the UN.
Yeah.
He doesn't present them as just, things that happen. They feel like crucible moments, the very things that shape this perspective on pain being a catalyst.
And the album then becomes this incredibly raw, kind of emotional soundtrack to all these ideas. You really hear that central premise directly in the lyrics.
Oh, absolutely. Track 6, A Million Tears, is such a powerful example.
Okay.
The lyrics say it straight out. I cried a million tears, but now they water my growth.
Water my growth.
Yeah. And later, starting over, building from the pain, my spirit's stronger than these earthly chains. It's not just describing pain, it's showing the process.
Right, the transformation itself, the tears becoming something useful, the pain strengthening.
Exactly. That active transformation is key.
That's fascinating. And building on that, the book introduces some really distinctive concepts. Like one that immediately jumps out is quantum pain.
Yes, Chapter 2. This idea,
Yeah.
it's that intense suffering doesn't just feel long. It actually, in a way, compresses subjective time.
Compresses time. How so?
Well, it sort of accelerates personal growth. It's like extreme pressure forcing this rapid evolution, turning something like regret into fuel for the future,
Okay.
or taking nostalgia, which can be paralyzing, and making it a blueprint for what you need to build now.
Right, right. And this connects directly to that really powerful line you see in the epigraph in Chapter 2. If time won't bend, I'll break it, just to get back to you.
Yes. It speaks to that intense longing that pain often creates, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That almost desperate wish to manipulate time itself somehow.
totally.
And you hear this explored in the music, definitely in tracks like Jupiter, that's track 1, and Time Traveler, track 7.
How does it come through?
Well, they use these quantum and tech metaphors,
Yeah.
like Malimo, his AI company, is called a time machine in one lyric.
Oh.
Or lyrics talking about quantum vision or bending the continuum. It's not literal sci-fi time travel, obviously. It's more about representing that intense internal struggle, navigating loss, missed connections, wanting to reclaim moments shaped by pain. It's like the feeling of pain forces you to renegotiate your whole relationship with time.
That makes sense. Thinking about that intense pressure forcing transformation, there's another concept in the book, the black hole paradox. That's in chapter 3.
Yeah, and what's really insightful here is how it flips the script on things like voids, emptiness, failure.
Like feeling lost or rootless.
Exactly, or major setbacks. It reframes them. They're not just dead ends, places of defeat. They're crucibles, gravitational wells that actually pull you towards growth.
A gravitational well.
Yeah, they demand reinvention. But the key, according to the source, is mastering what it calls the strategic collapse.
Strategic collapse.
Yeah.
That phrase alone is powerful. What does that mean exactly?
Well, from the source, it sounds like it's not just giving up or falling apart passively. It's more like a deliberate, controlled dismantling of old structures, maybe identities, expectations, things that aren't working anymore. You intentionally let them collapse so you can rebuild something stronger, something new, right there in that void.
Okay, that's a heavy idea.
It is. And it's mirrored directly in this really striking lyric, Home's a Black Hole.
And that line appears in both chapter 3 of the book.
And in track 8, the song In the Club Like.
Right. So how does track 8 use that phrase? It seems like an odd fit for a track with that title.
It's intriguing, isn't it? The song seems to be about seeking freedom or connection out in the world, maybe socially, romantically.
Okay.
But then that line drops, but home's a black hole.
Yeah.
It creates this really stark contrast. It kind of suggests that maybe the internal void, that feeling of home or belonging being a black hole, is the intense gravity driving the outward search.
So it musically embodies the paradox. The emptiness itself has a pull.
Exactly. That void demands some kind of response, some action, some attempt at reinvention, even if it's just seeking connection elsewhere.
Gotcha. Okay, so taking that idea of navigating these challenging internal landscapes, how does the source talk about dealing with the external world? There's the mad world doctrine in chapter 5.
Right. The premise here is pretty stark. The world is fundamentally chaotic, disorderly.
Doesn't sound too optimistic.
Well, but it's not just presented as a problem to be fixed. It's framed more like a canvas for genius.
Or canvas.
Yeah. The idea is that the mind that can actually find method, find identity, find agency within that madness, that's the mind that truly thrives.
Okay, finding order in chaos.
Or maybe not even order, but finding your way in the chaos. And this connects directly to the lyric that gives track 12 its title.
What is?
It's a very, very mad world. That's from chapter 5 too.
Oh, okay, so track 12 tackles this head on.
Absolutely. It really reflects this struggle. The lyrics dig into personal history, family stuff, systemic issues. There's a line like, why my trauma got a passport too. Yeah, it's a raw look at the disorder and pain out there. But just like the doctrine suggests, the song doesn't seem to find power in escaping the madness. It's about forging power and identity within it.
How so?
That line, mad world, we the ghosts in the glow. It's like acknowledging the chaos, but finding a way to exist, even shine, right in the middle of it, thriving amidst it all.
Finding your glow in the madness. Interesting. Shifting gears a bit, away from navigating challenges, the book also gets into the nature of identity and power itself. There's this concept of crownless kings in chapter 4.
Yes, this chapter argues that real true power, it doesn't come from external validation, not from fame or big public displays.
So where does it come from?
It's built quietly, in silence, through genuine self-mastery and deep self-acceptance. The quote from the source that nails it is, real kings move in silence, scream when we bow.
Move in silence, and track 10, called Crownless, sounds like it's the musical version of that.
It really feels like it. The lyrics talk about wearing scars like constellations.
Nice image.
Explicitly saying there's no need for gold crowns. Talking about building empires in the dark. Defining true power by truth and internal strength, no crown, just a throne, is a line, not by the outward signs of status.
So it directly mirrors the book's message. Lasting influence is built unseen. How does that sort of push back against the usual success stories we hear?
Well, it's a Pretty significant counterpoint, isn't it? It suggests that maybe chasing all that external validation, the noise, can actually distract you from building that internal throne,
Mm.
that quiet mastery.
Mm.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? For you, the listener, does that idea of power built in silence resonate more than, say, power projected really loudly?
That's definitely something to think about. And speaking of controlling your own narrative, there's another really potent concept, the one that gives the album its name, exit music, from chapter 6.
Right. Described as the art of leaving, mastering your own story by controlling your departures.
So leaving isn't retreating.
No, not according to this. It's curation. It's an intentional ending that actually sets the stage for the next thing, for reinvention.
Yeah.
An anthem of reinvention, really.
And this idea is just declared right there in the hook and title of track 9, exit music. That line, exit music, baby.
Exactly. It's very declarative.
So track 9, musically, lyrically, it captures this deliberate reinvention.
I think so, yeah. The lyrics touch on overcoming doubts, achieving success, even when you've taken unconventional paths like dropping out of college.
Which is mentioned in his background details and the lyrics too, right? Dropped out, no cap.
Yeah, exactly. So it's transforming that past pain, those constraints, into defiance, into a kind of triumphant celebration almost. Lines like, turn my pain into rainfall, now I'm dancing in the storm, or just, it's a beautiful day.
Dancing in the storm, I like that.
It's the sound of owning your path, your choices, even your exits, and making something beautiful, something powerful out of them.
And this idea of controlled departure, of reinvention, it connects back to another chapter, doesn't it? Chapter 7, The Haunting Ghost of Unlived Lives.
It does. And that chapter isn't just about simple regret, like, oh, I wish I'd done that. It's presented more as this persistent summons, a call to relentless self-mastery, to living fully.
So it reinforces that theme from exit music, defying expectations, forging your own path.
Exactly. It's like the ghost of what could have been is actually pushing you towards what can be if you take control.
Okay, let's step back for a second, because underneath all these concepts about pain and power, there seems to be this deeper, maybe more philosophical layer in the sources, especially in chapter 21, which has this really intriguing title, God is Real.
Yeah, that chapter definitely goes deeper. It presents this view where reality isn't just stuff. It behaves more like a vast self-processing system, almost like a cosmic operating system.
An operating system.
Kind of. And God, in this context, isn't necessarily a personified being, but described more as the fundamental processor, the core logic, the OS that everything runs on.
Okay, so if you take that perspective, then processing your own pain, navigating loss, confronting those voids, it's not just psychological work anymore.
Right. It becomes something more. It's like processing incredibly potent information, information that forces you to understand this underlying reality, this fundamental system on a deeper level.
Like using your own intense experiences as data to maybe debug or understand the system better.
Something like that, yeah. And what's fascinating is how the source connects Kangombe's actual work in AI and quantum computing, particularly with his company, Nilimo.
Yeah.
It connects that work to this view. It's presented not just as building tech, but as an attempt to interface more directly with this deeper reality, to understand its quantum whispers, as the text puts it.
Quantum whispers.
And maybe even, as chapter 21 suggests, learn to write better prompts to the universe itself.
Wow. Okay. And this leads to another idea mentioned there about a telic economy. What does that mean?
Telic just means directed towards a purpose or goal. So the idea is that an economy driven by purpose might be more fundamental to this operating system of reality than just optimizing for, say, money or status.
So it's about aligning with some deeper meaning or purpose protocol within the system.
Exactly. And you could frame the big pivots in his own life, moving away from maybe more expected paths towards building something like Milimo or creating this deeply personal exit music project.
Yeah.
You could see those less as conventional career moves and more as attempts to align with that deeper, purpose-driven economy within the fabric of reality itself.
Okay, so let's try and sum up this deep dive then. We've journeyed through Mainza Kangombe's really compelling perspective.
Yeah, really compelling.
Exploring how personal pain, adversity, those past ghosts, they aren't just burdens. They can be reframed, used as strategic tools for resilience, for growth, for reinvention.
And we've seen how the Exit Music album isn't just background music. It's this raw, emotional soundtrack that brings concepts like quantum pain, the black hole paradox, crownless kings.
And that core idea that your ghosts are not chains, they are keys.
It brings all that vividly to life. through the lyrics, through the sound.
We've connected these sometimes abstract ideas back to the author's own life journey, too.
Yeah.
Seeing how his experiences, Zambia, the UN, tech, music, all kind of illustrate these universal lessons. Turning pain into power, navigating chaos, defining identity on your own terms.
Yeah, the connections are really clear.
So the core message we've drawn from these sources feels pretty clear and powerful. Your adversities, your ghosts, your points of deepest vulnerability, they really can be keys.
Keys to unlock potential maybe you didn't know you had. Keys to forcing growth under pressure, finding some kind of order or path in the chaos.
And ultimately, keys to letting you compose your own unique legend. One scar, one lyric, one line of code, one difficult step at a time.
And this leaves us with a final thought, maybe a challenging one, to chew on. Building on that really intriguing idea of reality as this vast self-processing system. If, as these sources suggest, processing your own pain, your experiences, your efforts to understand, your acts of creation, if all that is like feeding information, like feeding inputs into the fundamental operating system of reality itself.
Then what kind of inputs are you choosing to generate through your life, through your own process? And maybe more profoundly, what kind of reality are you in turn helping to compose?